let's see if there's any good news going on in Washington. Probably not. Washington governor and top officials urge Congress to pass marijuana reform. So this is more of the federalism issue, the states' rights types of issue that Miggy was discussing. So the governor of Washington state sent a letter to congressional leaders, again emphasizing the urgent need to pass marijuana banking as a reform for public safety. And then, Miggy, how many times have you shared a story in Washington state in the past 12 to 18 months about a pot shop getting robbed?
Every other day, every other week. Here in Washington state, I've noticed a very increase in securities. Shops that I have been able to walk into easily, now they have to get buzzed in. Like, they're taking so many precautions out here now because of being targets. That's what these businesses are. This is what the lack of passing in any prohibition is enabling, is crime, is people getting fired and people getting shot at, or robberies. So I mean, the state banking act would be great. It'd be like one part of the puzzle, though. That's the problem, right, with legalization. When we talk about, like, I think everybody as a kid thought, like, okay, we're going to legalize it and then it's going to be in the stores the next day, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, we're talking about prejudice, and so we let off the show about, like, something else that Roe v. Wade debate has to do with cannabis. Both of these issues are facing prejudices. And so one of the prejudices, it's legal to perpetuate because it's a federal crime. And as a result, there are algorithms designed to prevent cannabis from spreading on the internet. You can't advertise. If you try to, like, get a Google, what's the search traffic on these types of things, Google won't publish it.
We've been suppressed for years, dude. Like, that's the thing. Like, every time, I know this is your business. This is something that you've been working on for promotion and everything. But for me, it's been activism and making noise and trying to get a certain message out. But it's an uphill battle. And that's why I find it funny when conservatives are like, oh, we're being shadow banned and blocked. But yet, you have this whole law that just passed for you. Like, the algorithm in general is always on the conservative side. It's always trying to, like,
well, again, that's one of the nice things. If they take Twitter private, maybe because they're public companies, they have to comply with all federal laws. And so if you're private, you don't have to get that representation to, this guy is twit. You didn't win an argument regarding divorce and regarding a morality. You can't win a morality argument. That's just what people believe. Very rarely is it actually factual.
They probably think they won an election too. I'm just saying.
No, if anything, they probably pissed off 75% of women in the country. And then everybody in the country who thought they had the right to privacy. Like, we are a free country. Implicit in the due process clause is your right to be let alone. Your right to be free. How can you have freedom if you don't have privacy?
See, and I think that's why states' rights is a bullshit argument when it comes to, like, the rights of the citizens, Americans, right? Like, the same people are like, oh, I don't want the government telling me what to do, or like, America. Like, you can't have both ways. You have to support this thing that we call America, which is it's a concept, it's a construct, right?
If you save the kids, you'd pay for their fucking education, you'd pay for their fucking health care.
And if you save the kids, what are you doing for the ones out there that don't have families? I'm saying there's plenty of...
They don't care. As soon as you're in, that's it. Fleece them.
How we've had the same shitty issues year over year, like we've known about.
That's what it means for weed. Like, again, we've been talking about this for a decade, and then they've been talking about this one for 5. And so maybe we aren't going to have, maybe it's going to be a Schedule I substance for another decade.
I really hope not. I mean, it's the biggest blight in American justice, this thing that we're supposed to be better than everybody else. It's the biggest, like, if you're going to find a flaw of something that's almost perfect, I mean, this is the biggest flaw, right? The process is not the best, but it's what we got. But yet there's this one thing that's up there, the racial disparity, the origins of, right? This whole, like, we're going to be burning books now because we want to talk about history. Like, the fact that people are going to be like, oh, well, the Irish were slaves too. I get those emails sometimes. I'm like, no, dude, like, in America, the first states' rights was issue would be like this would cause a civil war, right? Like, they thought they could do the whole separate shit and everything. So it just blows my mind how this lack of unity and lack of common sense exists on the other side. There we go.
Let's all do
Take a break.
something that we let's do a nonpartisan issue before we
There
do
you go.
some stocks. You know,
All right. Brown chicken, brown cow.